I know this is sweet, and it's definitely delicious. But is that message being relayed from my tongue, or is my brain calling the shots? So in this video, we're going to examine how taste works. In the meantime, I'm going to return to this tasty, savory treat. All right, guys, welcome to Psych Explained. In this video, we're going to examine gustation, or our sense of taste. Now, the first thing I'd like you to do is to find a mirror and stick out your tongue. You know why? Because what you would see are these tiny bumps on the surface. And you might be thinking, oh, these are my taste buds. Well, not quite. Now, these bumps actually have a name. Do you know what their name is? They are called papillae. What are they called? Papillae. Okay, so all these bumps right here are papillae. And you have different types of papillae on your tongue. For example, the papillae that might be closer to the front of the tongue are what we call fungiform papillae. Okay, what are they called? Fungiform. And think of fungi, right? Because they look like mushrooms. I'll talk about that in a moment. You also have some papillae on the sides, the back sides of your tongue. Okay, what are these called? Foliate papillae. Okay, what are they called? They're called foliate papillae. And lastly, you have these giant kind of V-shaped papillae in the back of your tongue, right here, called what are they called? Circumvallate. Okay, circumvallate papillae. Okay, and here's my circumvallate papillae. Okay, so why are these bumps important? Is because your taste buds that actually detect the food that we're eating are housed and located within the walls of these papillae. All right, so let's take a look. Let's take this nice circumvallate papillae and let's zoom in. Okay, so what are we looking at? Right here, right, this is one of our papillae. Okay, and we're looking at it from a kind of a side angle, right? Imagine looking at the tongue from the side, okay? And here's our scenario. Imagine you were eating some nice, sweet Skittles. We got a lime Skittle, we have a cherry Skittle, and maybe a grape Skittle, okay? So we're eating something very sweet. Our saliva is going to mix with the food and break it down into little food particles, okay? So here's our food particles hovering above our papillae, right? These are called tastants, right? All of our little food particles, thanks to our saliva. We'll have a couple more hanging around here. And what's going to happen is all these tastants, food molecules, are going to go within the walls or crevices of these papillae, specifically our fungiform, okay? And the taste buds, where are those located? Those are housed within the walls of these papillae, okay? So all of these are little tiny taste buds, okay? And you have thousands of taste buds throughout your tongue, from the roof of your mouth to the cheeks, of course, within our papillae. And these are going to synapse, okay, synapse, with different receptors, right, different pathways that are going to go where? They're going to go to the brain, okay, relaying that message of what they are receiving. Okay, so they're all going to synapse, and they're all going to go down here to our sensory pathways. And where are they going to go? To the brain, telling my brain, right, what I'm actually eating, right? These are my taste buds. Now, how does it actually turn into an electrical signal for my brain to understand? So let's take our taste bud, right? We'll do one more zoom in. We're going to take this little taste bud, okay, and we're going to zoom in right here. This is our taste bud. So what do we notice? Within this taste bud are 50 to 100, maybe 200 specialized receptors. Okay, what do? They detect our 5 basic tastes. Do we know what those 5 basic tastes are? Let's review them together. We have things like sweet. Okay, what else do we have? We have sour, right? Maybe fruits like limes and lemons. We have salty, saltiness. We have bitter. Here's my coffee grain. And we have something called savory, or also known as umami, okay? Right, things that are savory like meat and cheese and soy sauce. But here's what's important to know. Your tongue doesn't know that you're eating Skittles, right? Your tongue doesn't know that something is sweet or sour. What it's picking up is the chemical compound of that taste. For example, when I talk about sweet, what your tongue is detecting is really, or there's lots of different types, is glucose. Okay, what's it picking up? It's picking up glucose or fructose, you know, different types of sweetness. Your tongue isn't picking up sour, but foods that are acidic, which gives off hydrogen, okay, like limes and lemons and anything sour. Your tongue doesn't understand salt, but instead it's picking up sodium, okay, sodium ions, okay? With bitter, it's understanding not necessarily what bitter is, but things called alkaloids, okay, alkaloids. And alkaloids are found in plants, whether it's a cocoa bean with caffeine or nicotine and tobacco or morphine with poppies, right? It has a very bitter substance, you know, if you're drinking coffee. Plants use alkaloids as a defense mechanism, right? They're bitter, animals are not going to eat them. And umami is picking up different your tongue is picking up different types of amino acids, okay? Specifically, one called glutamate. Okay, glutamate, right? So we talk about, you know, foods have MSG. That G is glutamate, which gives it that savory umami flavor, right? So this is kind of what your tongue is picking up. So let's walk through this together and kind of understand what is happening within the cell. So we eat our Skittle, we're enjoying, right? It's going to bump up against our papillae. It's going to dissolve in our saliva, becoming taste sense. It's going to go into the walls of our papillae and reaching our taste buds, which is going to take the information to the brain. Now, what's happening with our taste bud is a really important term. What do we call it? Transduction. What do we know about transduction? This is where we turn one energy into another. So we're going to turn all of these taste chemicals into an electrical signal because that's what your brain reads. So this is where transduction occurs. So we have our glucose molecule. Here's our glucose. Is going to bind to a receptor. Let's have GLC for glucose, bind to receptor. This is the taste pore, right? This kind of little hole in the ileum, taste pore, that is going to receive the message. It's going to trigger an action potential down the cell that deals with sweetness, and eventually, poof, it's going to go to the brain. And if we zoom in even more, because of course we can zoom in, here's our glucose molecule one more time. What's going to happen? It's going to depolarize the cell. Okay, that's what an action potential is. Okay, what is it doing? It is depolarizing. Okay, depolarize. Our action potential is traveling down the cell, and of course it's going to synapse with another neuron. We're going to release some serotonin. We're going to talk to another nerve, and eventually we make our way to the brain. Now, once again, my tongue doesn't know I'm eating Skittles, so how does that happen? It's got to deal with the brain. So we eat our Skittles. I'll take one Skittle here actually, and just for reference, I'm eating a nice cherry Skittle. That information is going to be relayed to the brain, right? We're going to the brainstem right here, right? We're going up. These are afferent or sensory pathways, right? Afferent means towards, okay? And they're going to go up. Now, there's different types of cranial nerves. There's things like G protein coupled receptors. We're not going to get too detailed. We're just doing kind of an overall view. And this information is going to travel up and up and up, and eventually it's going to reach its way to a very specific part of the midbrain called the medulla. Okay, this is in the brainstem, the medulla. Okay, there's our first part. This is autonomic functions. And then that message is going to make its way to where? The thalamus. Okay, this is the sensory relay center. Okay, it's going to synapse with another neuron and eventually make its way to a very specific corner of our temporal lobe, which is on the side of the head. What do we call that? The temporal lobe, or very specifically, the insular cortex. Insular cortex, okay, or the gustatory cortex, okay? And this is where, what happens? This is where perception happens, right? This is where your brain goes, I know it's not just sweetness, I know it's not just glucose, but I'm actually eating Skittles, right? I'm gonna connect that flavor, I'm gonna connect that taste to things that I already know from my previous experiences. Think about top-down processing, say, oh, that must be Skittles. So think about taste. It's not just the tongue goes, ooh, Skittles. There's an entire process that occurs in order for me to detect what I'm eating around me. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I really hope you learned something. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe. Please leave a comment below. I'll see you next time.